Multinationals. There are some fantastic examples of multinationals operating, and there are some terrible examples. One of the biggest changes in East Africa in the last number of years is the introduction of mobile phone. With your mobile phone, a bog standard mobile phone, you can send money in Kenya and in Tanzania. You can send money with your phone. And whereas here rural banks are closing down, in East Africa, rural banks have been leapfrogged. The mobile phone has enabled people to leapfrog into a new generation, a further generation of banking that isn't based on an institution. And so a woman living up a hill who used to have to travel down the hill and pay a bus driver to bring down her products to the market, who would stand in the market for the day, if her regular buyer wasn't there to take it, she'd end up at the end of the day having to sell her product at a smaller price. She now, with her mobile phone, texts to her buyer, her preferred buyer agrees a price and a day that they need it, and puts the product onto the van and texts down saying it's coming down, and the money is texted back up to her. And the mobile phone has brought that, and Vodafone has done that in a number of countries, and that has changed her business model. Her transaction costs are reduced, she's able to be productive on the day, she hasn't had to pay bus transport for herself down. So her business model has changed, and Vodafone have made money out of it. On the other side, there are significant multinationals leveraging power. We've had two, both in Kenya and in Rwanda. We have had tea producers who currently sell bulk tea. In both countries in the last month, producers have said to us, we can't sell, we make tea bags for the local market, but we can't sell it internationally because our big international buyers might leave us if we put out tea bag to compete with their product. And so they're in fear that the multinational will squeeze them out. And from two different countries, we've had that example in the last month. Yeah? Are there others like us? Fair trade is like us, but the key difference between us and fair trade is they work on the farms, and their system doesn't reach into the factory. So the fair trade doesn't distinguish on whether the product was turned into chocolate in Europe or in Africa. And that's the emphasis that we're trying to create, is that we only work with products that are fully processed, ready for consumers to the final stage, fully processed in Africa. And that's the distinct piece. And when you look at the basket of products coming from many African countries now, it's the same basket of products as it was under the colonial system. And that change hasn't yet happened. And that's what we're trying to achieve. That's the critical change, to move away from it, so that as Ireland moved away from just beef on the hoof, that African countries can move away from cocoa bean and coffee bean. Yeah? Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.